Welcome to the end of the last phase of Celestial Anomaly. To be perfectly honest, getting EX++ this time around was a lot easier. This is the passive tree I'm using, and as you can see, most of it's already unlocked, but there is still some work to be done on the Sunken Viper. So take that into account when you see the final score, and realize there may be more room for improvement, or you may not need all the espers that are mentioned. So these are the teams I'm using, and I tried to keep in mind accessibility, like not using espers that are too hard to get. And I understand the irony of saying that and using Unis my first team. Don't worry, you can swap them out to Hathor or pretty much any of the other Imprisoner espers. The three espers I think are the most essential for Chimera has to be Mateo, YC at Resonance 2, and Brewster. I feel like either you're building teams that include these guys, or you're building teams that are basically making up for the fact that you don't have them. Personally, I don't like that very much. I think it's a little bit of poor game design, but this is where we're at. So for the Sunken Viper, we're going to be focusing on using Tide Color Espers. They have their own little designation. As lead, we're using Sander because the speed lead is fantastic for this. He also does great damage. Now keep in mind, you want to keep your damage dealers on lifesteal sets. This is because when you attack the boss, you will be taking damage back. Now Brewster is amazing here, and that's mostly because all the passives for the Sunken Viper involve boosting up your basic attacks, and when Brewster goes to assist, he's using basic attacks. He also applies defense break at a very consistent rate, and that makes him pretty invaluable for your overall score. Next we're using Unki because of his cooldown reduction, which is basically going to cause our Sahua and our Asenath to use their abilities more often than attacking. It basically allows our supports to just do supporting things and keep alive. Next we're using Sahua, and she's faster than Unki Chai, which is important. She's going to be kind of swapping between doing the buffs and single target healing, and that's pretty much all she's going to do. So you want her on a counter set, so that way every once in a while she can apply all of her stacks to the boss. Lastly, we're using Asenath, basically because she AP boost, which gives us also damage reduction, and she has good AoE recovery, which is going to help us sustain in the fight. Now that we have an idea of what espers we're using and why, let's see how they all work together. And to be honest, I really love the Chimera. I love this intro and basically the entire design of it. I think it's really cool. So we started off with the Sahua buffs and then the cooldown reduction, and you're just going to see Sahua just loop over and over again. And we're going to basically depend on just Sander and Brewster to do all the damage. So Sahua would just keep building stacks every turn, but when you counter like that, then those stacks are applied, and that's why it's important. And I do understand the audio is a bit busy because you can literally hear all the teams attacking at the same time, which is, to me, a bit overwhelming. Anyways, we have the defense break, we have an attack break from the Sahua, and most importantly, we have the speed break, which is going to let you get your turns in. Remember, you try to get 100 stacks on the boss, so that way you can reduce its final attack. And if you reduce that final attack to 0, you put the boss into a dazed state, which is going to let you do some real damage to it. I think you have an understanding of how it's going to play out, so I'm going to go ahead and speed up the video, put on some music, and I'll meet you at the end. Well, we're at the end of everything, and it looks like the scores are actually be really decent. As you can see, if your team gets wiped out one stage, you start attacking the other stages, which is pretty annoying. And this is the final tally so far. And we can see our team is performing really well. It's not quite at EX++, but that'll happen once the rest of the phase is unlocked, and we can get more passives. My hope is that since the team's performing so well already, that once we get everything unlocked, we can actually make teams that don't need legendaries. So that's going to be my goal, to see if it's even possible to do. But considering this is like their endgame, I'm not really sure if it is. As always, thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. If you like this video and like to see more, subscribe, so that way you don't miss out on anything. So good luck, and happy farming.